Today, Angela and Kezia are going to help us get ready so we can enjoy birds no matter how cold it gets this winter. Most of their advice is useful, regardless of where you live, but our particular stores are located in Western Washington, so some suggestions may not apply to all areas. Alright guys, take it away.
Alright, so Angela, we're here to kind of talk a little bit about feeding birds in the winter and answer some of the most common questions that we get. So, the number one most common question is, should I stop feeding birds in the winter? Am I preventing them from migrating?
No, the truth is nothing you do is going to stop the birds from migrating.
Okay.
It is an inborn thing that the birds that have been migrating for hundreds and thousands of years just do. It's like a trigger. And no amount of bird food that you can put out in your bird feeders is going to stop this magnificent force of nature.
Okay. So as winter approaches, should I change what type of food I'm feeding?
That all depends on what you're currently feeding them.
Okay.
So if you're feeding them a blend that has a lot of sunflowers, mostly sunflower, different nuts, you really don't have to change it all that much.
Okay.
However, if you are feeding them something that has filler seeds, mostly filler seeds, not a lot of sunflower.
So like what's a filler seed?
That is something like Milo. It can be oats, it can be other grains, and corn. It's not really what a lot of the birds that visit our feeders are looking for, especially this time of year. What they are interested in is something with a lot of fat. And a great food for that is suet. It's an excellent source of fat for birds that like to eat insects. This time of year, if you started feeding them no-melt suet in the summer, now is a good time to start changing it because what they are looking for is higher fat content, and typically no-melt blends don't have as much high fat content as the regular suet.
Okay, so why is high fat important?
High fat is crucial for birds in the winter because that's where they get their energy to combat the cold. However, an often overlooked challenge for birds this time of year in the winter months is the dark. They spend in the Seattle area up to 15.5 hours in complete darkness, and it's not like they can whip out a flashlight and start hunting for food in the middle of the night. It's just not doable. And an incredible fact about songbirds is that they can burn 75 to 80% of their fat reserves.
In a day?
In a night.
In a night?
And then they'll wake up skinny in the morning.
Why can't I do that?
That's one way to get rid of a Thanksgiving dinner.
Wow, that's great advice. So what else should customers be thinking about for this time of year? Is there any other thing that birds need in the yard?
Water. Water is a crucial element.
Okay.
It's not like, a lot of people tend to think about it as more of like a summer sort of a thing. And maybe that's because they associate it with pools and water fun.
Sure.
But the truth is, like you and I, we always need to drink and bathe.
Bathe. Bathe is good. Please bathe.
Yes, please bathe before coming in. So why that's important? Drinking is an obvious reason.
Okay.
But bathing, they need to maintain their feathers. And they need to keep them clean in order to do what feathers do for the birds. And that's fly and especially insulate. Feathers are marvels of natural engineering because they're fine, breathable, and they are waterproof. So it helps to create air pockets when they fluff it up, fluff up their feathers, and it's kind of like wearing a downy coat in a way. And they can dry off really easily. It's not like they're going to accumulate icicles that make it impossible for them to fly anymore, or else birds would be in even more trouble than they already are.
True.
And not only that, but it's a lot of fun to watch the birds bathe. That's probably one of my favorite activities.
Yeah.
I mean, it beats feeding, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. They get all puffed up, they flick their water everywhere, and they do it in groups. Oh, it's just one of my favorite things.
So much fun. Okay, but what happens if it gets too cold and the bird baths freeze? Then they can't bathe. So what do I do?
Well, in that case, what you can do is put out a de-icer. And so what the de-icer does is it heats the water in the bird bath. but not to the point where it's creating a little jacuzzi for the
Oh.
birds to bathe in, which, I mean, that sounds nice to us, but it also takes less electricity, so that's a good thing. All it does is keep the water thawed, and a lot of de-icers are thermostatically controlled, so it only kicks on when the temperatures reach a certain threshold, like 35 degrees Fahrenheit or lower.
That was great advice. Are there any other things that we should be doing this time of the year with our feeders?
Yes, cleaning them out is very important.
Okay.
And while you're cleaning your feeders, maybe think about checking them to see if there's any damage, like cracks, or if they need any other kinds of maintenance. If they do, then I would suggest fixing them or replacing them.
Okay.
So that you're ready for the winter.
Cool. Anything else we should do?
Another thing you could do, since this is the Pacific Northwest and we do get a lot of rain, especially during the winter season, you can put a weather guard on top of your feeders to keep the birds dry while they dine. But more importantly, perhaps your seed can stay drier.
And it stays fresh that way. So that's great. Weather guards are amazing. Awesome.